In this episode, you will discover how expanding your capacity for pleasure, and sexual pleasure in particular, can transform every aspect of your life. Welcome to Personal Development Mastery Podcast, and this is another snippet of wisdom where I select my favorite, most insightful moments from previous episodes. Today's snippet is from my conversation with Fanny Leboulanger, who is a doctor and a sex coach. It is about why pleasure is your birthright, not something you have to earn, and also how expanding our capacity for sexual pleasure can transform our nervous system and overall well-being. Let's dive right in.
Remind every person I'm working with is that pleasure is our nature. If you consider the clitoris, it has thousands of nerves and it has no other function than pleasure. So, denying ourselves pleasure is literally denying ourselves our nature. And that being said, so orgasms shouldn't be hard. Not shouldn't. It's not written anywhere, or there is no physical, physiological explanations for orgasm to be so tricky for people. It became tricky because we live in a crazy situation with internalized sexism, patriarchy, and things like that, and people having opinions on what you should do with your sexual life and how, for example, if you consider orgasms, there is this thing about how, to be a real woman, you're supposed to come during penetration, whereas the most pleasurable orgasm isn't really inside the clitoris. Isn't like there is the G-spot, of course, but I think the worst misconception is how we rate the types of orgasm.
Mm-hmm.
And also how we think orgasms are supposed to look a certain way, because we tend to forget or not know that we have different types of pleasure. You can have a luscious pleasure. You can have a soft pleasure. You can have a passionate pleasure. You can have an angry pleasure as well. You can get angergasm, sadgasm when you work with your emotions. So that's a whole palette that is available. And when you combine this with the exploration of your body, this is an endless playground.
I'm going to go back to something, the capacity to feel pleasure. And you say that awakening or expanding our capacity to feel pleasure is one of the greatest tools one can have in, creating the life that they want and finding fulfillment. So I would like to hear your thoughts on that.
I'd love to start this answer with, has denying yourself pleasure worked before? Do you feel good when you deny yourself pleasure and when you beat yourself all day long to lose weight, do this, do that, have more orgasm, but too much and blah, blah, blah? Personally, it hasn't.
No.
Then, what I love about pleasure is how it helps us expand our safety zone in our nervous system, and how, because it's our nature, we slowly reclaim what's ours and how we actually deserve that. If you consider your nervous system, we have some kind of tolerance zone where we feel comfortable and we can manage the coming back at a quote unquote normal state. That's, for example, why you are not yelling at your spouse when they are just, a little bit late. And this tolerance zone can also be influenced by outside factors. If we all have been in a huge fight and then noticed we were hungry And then when we ate, we were like, oh, I was just hungry. So using pleasure, because it's our nature, help us expand that. And when we expand that, we are also able to notice what is wrong about us, not about us as a society, and able to do something with it, to actually step out of what I call the autopilot life in this 50 Shades of Grey, not sexy way of how things are supposed, quote unquote, supposed to be. When you reclaim your pleasure, you reclaim your essence. And when you reclaim your essence, your tolerance to the bullshit that is not yours decrease. And when you decrease the tolerance to that, you have more fulfillment, or simply feeling truly alive is more accessible.
Thank you for listening. You will find the full conversation with Dr. Fanny Leboulanger in episode 370. The link is in the episode description. If you enjoy this podcast, can you think of one person that would find it useful and share it with them? I appreciate it. Until next time, stand out, don't fit in,